Hello again, Toyota fans. I saw this model at my dealer, but they were all pre-ordered and reserved, so I couldn't buy one at the dealer. One of them looked good, one of them looked bad. The reason why is this BM Creations Toyota Corolla has a removable front bumper. So I'm taking a chance here. It might be a disaster, but maybe it'll work out alright. I'm a risk taker, I guess, when it comes to buying models. So you'll see this is a 1996 Corolla AE100, which my research tells me this thing first came out in 1991 and sold until 1995. But in certain countries, it was sold up until 2002. It would be the 7th generation Corolla, and in this generation, I guess it increased in size, so it moved into the compact class of vehicles. Okay, so engine choices varied quite a bit, being a very global car, 1.3 liters up to a 2.2 liter diesel in petrol engines, but the biggest one was a diesel, diesel I guess, making 170 PS. That might be like the JDM market. Okay, so it's a licensed product. BM's does, Toyota approval and all that stuff. They always have a funky graphic printed on the insides of their boxes, so I kind of like that about them. It's not wasting oh no, it is wasting cardboard. I don't know why they don't just print this stuff on the inside of the box. It seems like a waste of paper that really you're paying for, you know? And also it'll end up in a landfill. Okay, but they did get away from the crystal boxes, which I do appreciate, because I think those boxes take up a lot of space. And again, you're paying for that crystal box, so I don't need them myself. So inside here we have a bag of goodies. Let me get some scissors here. Sorry. I guess I'll focus on those images back there while I talk. The Corolla comes in all sorts of body styles depending on the country. 4-door sedan would probably be the most common. But there was also a 3- and 5-door hatchback, a 2-door coupe, a 5-door liftback, and a 5-door station wagon. And I found it interesting that in this generation, the headlight glass is now polycarbonate. It's not actually glass. It's now plastic, like most modern vehicles have. So that's really all I learned about this. So typically, BMs, when they put a model in the packaging, is supposed to be the OEM version. So stock ride height, stock wheels. You can see that's a fairly similar match on the wheels at least, and this bumper and all the lights and stuff like that, the mirrors. So that's a pretty good representation, at least from initial impressions. Let's try the back view here. Try to get it a little closer. Okay, so yeah, they're the wheels again. Door handles are semi-flush. The rear lamps, yeah, I guess maybe it's a different year than this photograph. I did pull up 1996, or maybe it's a different market. So, okay. Excuse me. Okay, so it seems alright. So we have a sky blue. Well, I don't know if it's sky blue. It's kind of a grayish blue. I don't know what the screen on your end is going to look like, but it's definitely blue, but it's also got a lot of gray in there. It's not metallic either. It's just a regular opaqueness. Alright, those wheels did look pretty close to the Toyota wheels. The real wheels are really plain. They don't have a center dot. They're just smooth. I think maybe these guys put a center dot just to break up the monotony of that hubcap. There's a lot of friction going on, so the rear is, if you press down, it will rotate, but this will never get down a Hot Wheels track. Okay, so we got some little keyhole depression there. Black on the window looks pretty good, and BM has some silver paint there in the mirror, so that's nice. Going around to the front, the painted turn signals there, or maybe those are just reflectors. Maybe the turn signal's here, I'm not really sure. But the lights do look good. Seems like there's a, ribbing on it. Yeah, I can feel it. It's on the outside of the plastic, these little ribs. But there's a little dot there, though. It looks like a light bulb, so that's cool. Then we got this black plastic with some silver trim. And I don't really recognize this badge in the middle here. So I'm not sure what market, if this is a JDM Corolla logo. It's not the Toyota badge, right? It's nice to see something on the license plate. And also we got some black paint and these textured inlets there. So pretty nice looking front end. And so when I was looking at that dealership, granted this is under high magnification, this gap on one of the models was really messed up. On this one, well, what do you get? You guys are gonna have to decide. Let me back out again. It's definitely bigger than back there. It's definitely more noticeable than the door panel gaps, which are quite tight actually. On this side, yeah, it's actually more the gap here with the headlight. So that's not so good. Eee, that's actually quite bad indeed. Looks pretty good back here, fuel filler door. And so yeah, we got some white and red taillights there. The printing looks pretty good though. Toyota badge, Corolla looks good. Corolla, we have a three-dimensional exhaust tip with what, I don't know if there's black paint, but it's dark in there, so that looks pretty nice. And then the defroster lines, well, they're not the best, but you can still see a little bit of the front. It's blocking quite a bit of the window though. It would have been better without them, I think. I've seen worse by Mini GT. Okay. Alright, so I'm not going to show the interior because I'm just going to pull this apart. Alright, so nicely, these tires actually do look like they look believable on a Corolla. You know, they're not going to be supercar width, but they're not so narrow as some of the other BM creations that I'll show in a little while. Oh, this one actually steers. A lot of times they don't steer because I don't think they want the wheels to just be randomly like that moving around during shipping. Okay, so it's nice to see a little silver paint on the exhaust system and it's screwed together. So let's get into this modification process. BM seems to always be messing around with their designs, you know, so I'm always opening these things up to find something different. And it's funny, I never thought I'd be collecting Corollas. A Toyota Corolla. No offense to anyone who's ever had one. It's a great car, but it's not something like a supercar, right? Okay, so that front end came off. Well, here's the stock one. We'll put this the aftermarkets aside. I guess now we'll look at the interior. Well, it's just plain black, really. Is there something in the dashboard? It looks like there are instruments in there. Let me hit the focus and try to get in on this thing. Yeah, so there are instruments there, so that's pretty nice. I think it's a decal, but whatever, it's fine. No additional images on or decals on the seats, which is fine. A lot of the other BMs, they have decals on the seats, but there's so many air pockets that it actually, I think, looks worse. Ideally, they would just buy different plastic and just mold the plastic in a different color, like mold it in tan or gray or whatever. That would make sense, right? Alright, so that's that guy. If you're curious here, we have 4 rivets holding those on. Are you ready? Okay, now, so the front, this wheel set, you'll see is the OEMs. So they're relatively vertical, like the stock Corolla would have. And we have some side skirts this time around. Let's compare the wheels, actually. So the aftermarket wheels seem to have the same width tread, but the same width tire, but I don't know if the tread is different. They look different, right? This looks much finer and much wider. Maybe the width is different. Look at the rubber. I think the tire might be a different width. Maybe 0.5 millimeter. It's not too far off, but it's different. Okay, now looking at the wheels, they're definitely plus size. Yeah, so they're plus size wheels. I have no idea what these are named, these wheels. SSR or something? They look familiar. They look like JDM wheels. Just not sure which ones. Okay, so if we got these rears, one is on the top, one is on the bottom. I don't know why they label them the same, but I just look out for this nub here. This nub usually goes on the bottom. But also I have to put the washer back on first in order to raise the raise the wheels or lower the car. So washer on there. My camera's in my way, so I can't actually see everything. Alright, so that's what's going on now. So this is a new front end for me. Alright, that bottom piece was really tight, so I have a little, plastic leverage tool from a battery replacement kit for like mobile phones. It came in handy. You actually have to swap out this bottom piece here. So what I'm talking about is this piece. It's situated in the vehicle like this. So you first have to unscrew this, then you have to take this washer off, then you have to take this top piece off, then you take off the steering wheels, and then you have to remove the bottom piece and swap it out with the other one. And then you just reassemble all those other pieces back to where they were. So it's really only this piece that changes and that lowers the car. You could also lower the car with a stock wheel set. You just have to change out this piece, okay? You can now see the camber. It's all canted inwards for that slam style. Yeah, even in the front. And then now you can kind of see how much lower it is, I think. Well, we'll see for sure on the body. So these little black OEM side skirts are just resting on these pins. They just fell off pretty easily. But there's these color matched ones, which we're gonna put on. I don't know if there's a left or right side. There's no marking on these pieces. I have to assume, since that's so close to the front, that's not right. So this must be on this side, right? It's more of a gap with the front tire. It's a bit of a friction fit, but push down hard enough and it'll work. This one was a lot easier. Okay, so that's simple enough. So now the bumper. This is the original bumper with the C logo. And here's the aftermarket one. Or maybe it's not the aftermarket one. Well, I guess it wouldn't be because it's got fog lamps, but it looks like it's got more of a Toyota badge. I don't know, it's not really a Toyota badge either. So that's interesting. I'm noticing the headlights on this one, this got the red black trim around the lights. This one does not, right? So I feel like the aftermarket one is nicer because it's got the little black trim around the headlights. And it's an open grille. This one's all blanked off. This one's totally open, so that's an interesting choice as well. It's got bigger red-orange reflectors there. Alright, so I'm gonna guess, let's put this interior back in. I'm gonna guess it just kind of rests right here. So it's just like a friction fit. Well, there's no way to fix the problem. It turns out that bumper is just warped. The design itself, I'm not sure if there's a way to improve it, but there's nothing trapping this part of the bumper, forcing it upwards. If it's warped, it's just hanging loose. And you don't actually have to remove the bottom to swap these out. Like this one goes in, no problem, and it's actually aligned better, right? So hold on, that side's not so bad. This side is not so bad. So this plastic is just more, it was molded better, I guess. Whereas, this one, yeah, this is just a warped bumper. There's just no way to make it better. The only way I could think to make it better is if this bumper had a lip on the bottom and that lip was forced to go against this surface here of the base. That meaning you would actually force the bottom to go up like that. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So that's the only solution I could think for BM Creations to do. So here we have it with some comparisons to other Toyotas. This is a Toyota Publica from Konami. This is a Toyota Starlet from Konami. And then this is the AE86 Torino from Time Micro, the initial D one with the tofu shop livery there. Here's a little top view. So all, I guess, economy cars, I guess you would consider from Toyota. Interesting to see the size variation over time. I think this is one of their early releases. This is a Subaru Impreza. And there's just no way a Subaru Impreza is going to have tires that thin. So let's pull these things up and see. It's a little bit wider, or is it? Maybe it's an illusion. Huh. I almost think, well, If it's wider, it's not by much. Maybe it's just because you don't expect a Corolla to have wide tires, but you definitely would expect a Subaru Impreza WRX to have wider tires than that. Okay, now here's a Toyota Starlet. I think this has the same size tires. I believe those are probably identical. Maybe the mold is getting old. No, I think the tread is a little different. Interesting. Okay, well, let's take a look at the top view. See, look at this. This isn't cool. That front bumper, you know, I think it's getting loose over time. Okay, here's a top view. So they're all running, I think, the aftermarket wheels, and they're all lowered in their stances, these BMs. I do like the fact that they can all steer. Alright, well, this isn't about these other cars, so let's this guy spin on its own. Alright, so in conclusion, I still, you know, I gotta give credit to BMs. As a company, they're always changing. It seems like every model I get, there's a little bit of a tweak here and there. It's a little bit different than the previous one. So this is a company that isn't afraid to improve their product, or isn't, you know, or isn't afraid to make mistakes to make a better product in the end. At some point in time, they're gonna figure all this stuff out, and they're gonna make awesome models, I think. I mean, these models are pretty cool as it is. Value-wise, there's a lot going on already. I mean, you got a second set of wheel sets. That alone to me is worth a lot, you know, having the ability to have the second wheels. What I'm not really sold on is this whole aftermarket bumper thing. I think, you know, the panel gap thing for me is a big issue. It's just the bumper isn't designed well enough, at least on that second one, to fit properly. So it's also kind of a losing business opportunity for BM Creations. I think they could have easily just made a casting that looks like this front end, and then made a completely different casting of the other one, and then they could have sold two models instead of selling one model with two pieces. Right? And then both models would look nicer instead of having one model that might look bad in both scenarios. Right? So that's just my logic. I think it's just better to keep it simple, make a nice looking model, and just make many different models and sell more products. Yeah, I'm not an economist, so anyways. But yeah, in conclusion, it was worth a try, and I'm gonna have to probably put some sticky tack in this bumper so it doesn't just inadvertently fall out. It's weird, it fell out before, but I guess it's stuck in there now. But I do like these aftermarket wheels on this one, so it's cool. I'll try BMs again, and hopefully you guys will stick with me until I get that review up. Okay, see you guys.